Welcome back to the desk, and we are going to be going straight into things here with our first roster. I know my name is Jesco, it's fresh, we can do all the nice little pleasantries, but I want to get straight into the actions. It's team number 1, and it's also called Team 1, someone who we know is doing mass amount of things in the Latin American scene, and they are also our reigning victors from the very last major. Looks like they're also keeping the victor spot hot in their group.
They're going very strong. They're going deep into this tournament. I'm going to call it now, Jess. They need a win in this game to go through to the playoffs, and I think when they do, they'll go deep into this tournament.
Well, there you go. You've heard it from the man himself, but the team on the other side ready to play, I guess, spoiler for a lot of the teams in their group is DarkZero. They started off very, very shaky. They've amassed some points, but isn't it almost impossible for them now to make playoffs?
It's almost impossible. They need to win both games and rely on a whole host of other results that will keep you updated as the day goes on. But they're playing for pride at this point, Jess.
Well, where will the battleground be for that pride battle? Let's get those map vetoes up when they are ready, because I know for a fact that these two teams don't have the smallest of map pools. I mean, maybe DZ has shown a little bit of rigidity recently, but Team 1 has shown that they don't mind going to a few different maps here and there, yeah?
What I love about these double round robin best of 1 fixtures in the groups that we've got is these two teams have already played. So they played on bank. And we always say it in EUL, Jess. We say, is it worth running it back? It's never worth running it back, right? So we're hoping for no bank when the veto comes up.
Yeah, exactly right. It looks like Team 1 is in absolute good spirits. Their coach Chubbs, award nominated by the way, the man himself, is standing behind them, ready and raring to go. And our battleground will be Oregon to kick things off. A rather strategic map here, I would say, favors the defense for the most part, at least over the past 6 months that we've been seeing. But, I mean, depending who starts attack, they might have to work their way into this match. What are you predicting before we shoot ourselves into this match?
I predict Team 1, they're very strong on attack and they're very strong on defense on this map in particular.
Well, that's all we've got for you here, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy game number 1 and day number 3 here at the Rainbow Six Sweden Major. It's Team 1 versus DarkZero.
And hello everyone, welcome to the opener on Stream A. I am Fluke.
And I'm Hap. There we go. I'm trying to get to introduce myself, indeed. And the match, a very important match.
It is. What is in that can?
What is in that can? Is that I don't know.
I don't know. Well, what we do know is that there's versus between these two teams, and I guess we'll see what you lot thought as to who's going to take it as the cool growly voice comes through. 71-29. Okay, that is sort of in line with what we expected to see.
Yeah, especially if you're looking at the rankings as well, of course. Team 1 currently one of the favorites in this group. And they're looking to continue that as well. Of course, up here against DarkZero. I believe DarkZero need to win absolutely every single game. They need the other games to go their way as well. If they want to be making it out of the groups, it is going to be a tall ask. But, you know, they have some stuff they can do themselves, and that is win these next 2 games they play outright. 3 points.
I mean, you just have to be perfect. It's a low bar. They need it because of where things went wrong for them earlier on. We'll talk about these bans when it's all come through.
Yep.
You're looking at a team that only really showed up in their most recent game, their closeout yesterday. DZ had a lot of power and presence, and they brought it. Finally, a lot of DarkZero fans out there sort of had a moment, but you're still on the edge of your seats for now. Team 1, who have had a firmer and pretty more solid ride up here, I believe they just need a win here.
They need a point.
They need a point.
I'm quickly.
They just need OT.
I'm going to be checking that as well as we go, of course, like I usually do.
Yeah, them numbers.
I'm going to get those numbers. Just need to verify myself at the internet first. There we go.
I just got to quickly do some tech. I just got to quickly
fix the issues.
Put an email in that's 100% a legit email, so you don't get spam emails about it. All right, let's, as I said, we'll talk about the bans. We find ourselves here on Oregon. It can be a short, sharp break on a push. The removal of the Ying is probably the most specific and targeted towards the way that we see. Obviously, these teams have already hit heads once throughout this tournament alone. They've had a bit of an experience against each other. And what you'll get from DarkZero on their day is really sharp executes. They've driven with the Ying before. They know if they want to take a big bout of space, if they're looking for a line and a break, and they want to push their way through, which they have the confidence to do under the mantle and the IGL voice of Canadian, that is something that you can limit by removing that Ying. It hurts DarkZero's particular way of pushing at points.
I'm quickly trying to figure it out, but I think that if Team 1 pick up a point, normally they would be confirmed. However, if Sandbox, Vitality, and the other stream goes to an overtime, we would have them on 8 and 7 points. Vitality have the head-to-head currently over Team 1, so if they would win, and then Sandbox win their next game as well, then Team 1 would still be out. 2 points is what they need. Quickly calculated here. So an overtime win is indeed on the board, or at least what they need. And, well, the other game as well will be a very important one in that. Hiker, this is a very curious way to lie down. Of course, just to watch underneath that door, see if anybody would be running past. And, well, he's playing in a bit of a do-or-die position here in the small tower. There's no way he will get out alive, but there's a lot of utility there to try and protect him. Shields, ADSs, and even mute jammers as well. Will be up to Team 1, though, to try and take care of that as soon as possible.
He was waiting to see as much pressure that comes through, and here it is. It's followed up by a Flores drone that forces him back to a shield. They didn't quite get the rotation, but he now loses protection. There's one on either window. He's going to have to make a choice here to stick it or leave it or lump it. The fight is going to be on every single swing and a slight angle as he gets clipped just on the edge of one of the 2 frames. Alamau wants to drive himself into the fight here, but he almost gets caught out with a flash. It's Levy that actually opens up Canadian elsewhere, potentially coming as a modicum or a line of support here. They are still trapped. Hyper is still buying time. Everything is exploding. Team 1 need this territory, and, well, now they've found themselves losing out. Neskin's gotten the sledge to do some damage here. Finally, Alamau gets the lockdown on Hyper. A valiant effort, but still, what are Team 1 going to do now?
Full blind was there indeed. 90 seconds is basically what was wasted, but there is a 2-man advantage. Well, 1-man advantage, 2 down on the side of DZ. There's also 2 of the Nitro cells that could potentially have been there, and GR is the only one left. Currently has the opportunity to toss one in. Of course, Eclipse always there still with those Yokais. However, on the roam, on the prowl, could be a bit dangerous, because if Levy just suddenly turns around here, as he seems to be aware of something happening, you know, you might just as well lose the Echo there.
They're trying to piece together their next approach here. Obviously, they've lost Neskin. The sledge would have offered them some of the openings above that are quite necessary, but they still have Alamau with those Flores drones. I believe he has at least, 1 left in pocket after the 3 that have been used, 2 of them above. But with the damage that him and KDS suffered from the wide swings of Hyper, it means that their next approach is going to have to be a little bit more cautious. And more cautious than that, NJR shuts the door and says hello to Alamau in a way with an English shotgun. Now as Levy tries to creep his way up the stairs, takes the pre-fire fight, can't quite get the connection, and they pull back into Armory, but look at the time. 25 seconds. Team 1 know they have to try and drive themselves into the site itself at this point, and they can't quite get the catch on any of the DZ players. KDS with a hot drop almost gets the lockdown on the fight around the chassis and does. Finds a very important kill, but 10 seconds. Lagonis needs to try and get that diffuser down and in, and now it's suddenly a 3 versus 1. Pamba is all that's left. He's in the isolated shower situation. Couldn't get the swing to the right location on the single player that's on this far side. They found him though. Team 1 just pulls out the execute.
They just managed to pull it off indeed, and they ran deep because the diffuser was first in that dining hall. That could have been quite a dangerous position to plant it, especially with the players still being left in the showers. So they went for the deep kitchen plant. Successfully did so as well, just going for the cleanup right after. Team 1, they were effective with clearing out the very first 2 kills. They have lost someone on the way, that is true, but it's always going to be that advantage that really helps them. And don't forget, DarkZero tried to pull a tertiary side as the very first one, and that is a bit of a gamble. It might work, it might not work. If it works, you don't have to worry about it for the next couple of rounds. If it doesn't, well, at some point you would have to play it anyway.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
So, Team 1, you pulled that out, and to be fair, that really sort of was DarkZero's round to lock out. In my opinion, they'd done some good groundwork, and okay, there was a bit of a scrappy fight. We didn't see the initial opener that went away from them, but they got a bit of revenge for it, which is a very important moment to try and at least find something back. An untraded kill is absolutely devastating between teams like this when you're going for such an intricate map that Oregon can be. Here, though, it was also a bit of a gambit site. They pushed themselves to what is a tertiary. Now they're going back to a round 1 for a lot of teams, which is up here in dorms. Is this something where DZ are going to be a little bit more comfortable? Was that a bit of a gamble? Let's throw it at the wall, see what sticks. Unfortunately, it was mainly their innards that stuck to the walls.
Attackers' objective is
Yeah,
to
for
locate
sure,
a bomb.
up to the top floor. And the question here is, how heavy are we seeing the bottom floor defense? You do see some of these reinforcements to come out. Eclipse is currently still out there as well. Just like Canadian is making sure that there's going to be no jump in from the window, the bedroom window, that is. LMA on the drone, however, KDS already quite far in and will be guided in to potentially hunt down a Canadian as well. There's little to no support for him. He's basically on his own right here for now, at least it seems like. At the same time, people are ready to jump in from the armory window and start pushing through the trophy site. This could be a very quick round here for Team 1 if they do manage to find their entries.
Well, they've got themselves stacked up quite quickly onto the potential jump in here. 3 bodies, or at least 2, around on that big double window side is the sort of overlook that they want to set themselves up. Alamau again driving the drones in to cause some of the destruction, opens the rotation up, which gives them the possibility of putting some pressure from underneath. There is a single body and a player, and it's KDS that's going to see if they can dig out the pressure here with the grenade from under. Doesn't quite get the full catch, but the second one sure does. They doubled it down, and Alamau's helped his way in. There's the connection round to the server side. The fight up the white stairs as they flee, but they can't quite get all the holders. Neskin's able to at least battle one back, and another 2 fall either side, and suddenly Canadian is the last one left. Not for very long, the opposite side of the stairs this time, but still, what a strike by Team 1.
What a good strike it was indeed. Very effective, and I said it, they just need to find their picks, and at that moment they can start exploding onto the site. They were already at many different of these angles. They realized that they could just start and try and push through the defenses here of DarkZero, who have now decided that it is time to go to the basement. Laundry and supply, according to many, a very defensible side, especially, you know, back in the day during the old Oregon when Mira was still often on the board, of course banned now, so we will not see it. The small pantry box would always be mirrored off. So the default laundry plant was so hard to deal with. You first had to open up the hatch, and then the mirror window could actually challenge you through the hatch as you needed to get that mirror window down. It's the box that is currently in the center of your screen. However, the map has significantly changed since release. You can no longer plant on top of that laundry machine. That used to be able to be done before. So this now needs to be in that room, in the A-bomb site room. It limits the positions where you can plant by quite a bit, and that's why very often now you actually see a B take. It goes down from the E box together with the blue hallway and the back stairs. It's a bit more safe ground there. Nitro could still fly over, so can smokes. However, you are safe from direct gunfire.
DZ, it was a better first round than the second, and the second was just sudden. But I think the read there from Team 1 was brilliant. Obviously, we saw the combo grenade package that was delivered post-haste to the backline player of NJR, and then the swing round to disturb the player that was in server underneath. It forced DarkZero into an uncomfortable situation. Combined with the explosion of Alamau on the top through the double window at the same time, it was a sudden strike built around intel, and that was almost one there too. Alamau was just so close to being gifted a panda that was as sleepy as the Pamba that he's named after. That was the wrong way around. He's Pamba, they're pandas. But he's still standing.
He's still standing. That is the important part.
Early.
He didn't get picked up. It's definitely early here. Not as cold as it was yesterday when it was snowing. So it's quite crazy how the weather shifts like that. Either way, currently for Team One, their attack so far going quite strongly. Is Eclipse here on the freezer stairs, looking to challenge with that English shotgun. We all know the hits, the shots that it can pull off, especially yesterday if you watched the SSG game, just sniping people from across the map there. KDS is looking to be challenging it. EMP coming out to get rid of the Cade Electroclaw, and that means that that hatch will be opened up. Suddenly Eclipse not really feeling that safe anymore as he's popping up a smoke canister before they're trying to fall back, and Jero is there to support, but both of them will fall back.
That was it. It could not hold that territory. As soon as that hatch gets popped open, if a player is on the wrong side of it, you are as good as dead. It is just impossible. And that's why Team One put a lot of focus on it. They dedicated a lot of utility and players, but now they've got to pick up sticks and go for an alternate location. They're going to see if they can try and put the pressure down here onto Blue and the tower stairs and see if they can dig out Hyper, playing around that pillar in the Harry Potter corner. He's still being a little bit aggro, and he has Pamper on the rotation. Eclipse keeping the lockdown on that elbow swing, but with that locked out and no more reinforcements, it means that that elbow is going to fall and not be reinforced. So they've got to stick it a little bit heftier. KDS is eyeing up the fight on Pamba, has the potential to go for some destruction with grenades, which have already been well played and placed by them before, but it's actually KDS that loses out as Canadian suffers over the top. The canister and another grenade buys a little bit more pressure in time. They try and get closer to the swing here onto the shield, but you assume no ADS. The spray misses, and it's a lot of trains and trucks going by in the night.
And they're going to have to start dropping soon, though. 30 seconds. The blue area is not under control yet. Lagonis is getting rid of one of the Surya laser gates. Elamau gets the kill. The push is coming in from the freezer at the very same time. Elamau picks up 3. Lagonis just runs in as well as Eclipse, the last one standing now. Needs to find 3 more. There's 16 seconds. They could go for a plant, or they could try and go for the kills as Levy, the one with the diffuser, manages to sprint past. It's Eclipse now with the SMG, but he will not last. It's Elamau that really jumped in from the freezer and got a quad kill as a result, single-handedly opening up this side, really allowing them to go for those plants.
It becomes this moment where you look towards where things are sort of disconnecting from DarkZero, and it's that unfortunate story of gunfights. At this moment in time, Alamau is obviously stepping in with a huge confidence. Everybody knows the weight of this game. Everybody knows the importance that it's, well, more important for DarkZero, and that it's this with a full 3, you're gone. And for Team One, it's you just need a little bit. You just need to get there to that finish line, at least on an even spot. And it weighs on you. It weighs on the confidence. Every decision has this extra weight, this ghoul that lurks over you and makes you doubt those moments and those movements. You can see DarkZero trying to play into the game that was so successful for them last night. But last night, they opened up on their success with attacks. They could drive the pace. Here, they're trying to control the pace of Team One, and Team One's pace is 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye.
That's it, right? For a long time, they managed to stall them out. They managed to exactly force them to go for certain actions, but then at some point, work needs to be done, and that is when Team One just explodes into the side. Alamau walks through the freezer, picks up 1, picks up 2, picks up 3, cleans it up in the end there, whereas Lagonis just decides to push as well. Suddenly there's no fear anymore in any of these players. They know what needs to be done. They know where the DarkZero players are most likely situated, and they just take them down one by one. And now 3-0 is the current scoreline, and mind you, if Team One wins this one all out, they are also confirmed first seed of their group. They cannot be kicked down to second. So for them, this is definitely going to be a very good and important matchup, which alleviates a lot of the pressure of that last game they have today.
Okay, DarkZero, a team talk, and back to the top floor to see if you can try and stop the onslaught that came through. Built from the start of a grenades paired with the push of Alamau through a big double window. He got 1 before being traded out, but what you have to pay attention to is that movement that happens at exactly the same time. Yep. It isn't just Alamau throwing himself into sight and finding kills, it's the combination of what the other players are doing to either build behind that and after that, as we saw in that round, or in this case of the most recent round, what they do just before. They draw focus. They play around with the idea of, what are you looking at, DarkZero? Now I'm over here, and now this pressure's over here. And it's such a good game from Team One. They never stop moving.
Never do stop moving. And as preparation work is being done here to attack the top floor yet once again. you will see the windows being opened. You see KDS trying to go for some bottom for control here with Alamau, who seems to be aware of the fact that one is in the kitchen. It's Canadian, who gets spotted out and put under heavy pressure now. Signs that he wants to stay inside that kitchen, wants to stand his ground, wants to stick in there for as long as he possibly can. But Eclipse, in the meantime, pushing up from the back stairs, could be going for a bit of a flank here as Canadian is pushing his attention towards him as well. No one could be around. He might want to try and go for a bit of a pinch here.
Has some curiosities, but it's a caution that sometimes you can't entirely throw to the wind because, well, if you lean and find yourself isolated on this map, a lot of what you have to hold is power positions, and one of them goes and suddenly you're entirely surrounded. Levy's putting the pressure here onto a slightly different side as before, but they're reimagining some of the holds. You can see the ADSs are moving, that grenade rolls in close, and it gives them a little bit more of a, I guess, conceited hold towards the side of Attic. With the singular opening as well into the swing on walk-in, they have to see if they can keep themselves a bit mobile, and the spray actually comes through. Canadian takes the head off of Alamau, dug in on the server stack. There's two more bodies that are trying to find a way in for revenge. They're going to go for the split push and at least try and take a trade. The spray is there, and the attention's drawn from KDS. Vaneskin to get the pickup on the back, but still, it's a good change of pace for DarkZero to find themselves on that entry.
It is a good change of pace indeed, as one of the serial laser gates is going to be repositioned here to stop anybody to move in from the actual armory side. It's just a small change, nothing too major, as the Gemini here will be given away. That, well, it seems quite clear actually in the bunk beds itself, so we do not really have to worry about a player being there. You instantly see one of the Team 1 players going up to the roof. Lagone is ready to go for a jump in as well, and well, that one is quite safe. It is just Hyper here on the position that is within the game's area. That is a threat here for the potential plan to come through.
Eclipse is waiting for some attention to be paid to these windows on the far side again. Obviously, it started with that, and Lagonis is there with a diffuser, and if he's able to pinch off Lagonis from the wall, that's a huge take. But they're going for the hop in there, and it's dropped by Pamba from the swing round. He's going to pull himself back now. Look at the time of 15 seconds. They've got to try and flood in, and it's entirely slipping through their fingers. Doesn't need the confirm because they have one more, and DarkZero. Attack timeout comes through. They get their first round.
There they have it indeed. The first round is on the board. Leads them into 3-1. So at least there's something they can work with. We said it before, you want to get at least one of your rounds, even if you do not really have it under control, because it gives you the opportunity to turn it around in the second half. And DarkZero, they cannot afford to lose points right now. Them losing points will mean that they're eliminated from the opportunity to make it to the playoffs. Of course, the other game needs to go their way. I have no clue how that one is currently going, but sure of the fact that it will be a very good one as well. Round 5, soon to start. Team 1, they still have a lead, a 2-round lead, and we'll want to build on that. It's a new site to be brought out here by DarkZero. It's going to be the meeting and the kitchen, not going to be the dining that we had seen before with the heavy small tower hold. We also saw that was, of course, being dealt with by Team 1 with quite a bit of utility, but with relative little loss. Just a small amount of HP onto Alamau. But it's a different site now, and it's often a different kind of take. The kitchen rarely really is the focus point here for the attack, because the stage just offers an easier way in. You do not need to clear as much of the building if you want to take that. There is not as much verticality that can really mess you up, and well, you really only need to get right behind the sandbags or right behind the table to get that plan down safely. Of course, hatches will be opened up. There is the opportunity for the defenders to go from below, toss those C4s up and over, potentially get kills like that. So there's plenty of, well, counters up for the counters, etc. So it turns a bit of a game of chess like usual.
Steady is the approach here as Team 1 try to weigh up the hold on the backside. Now they've got to see if they can drive themselves in to a site that was obviously a bit of an approach in terms of how they went from small tower, but again, it's still a slightly different site because obviously you pick up one site and you move it onto stage. Now, I guess it's that way up decision here. Team 1 has instead taken that and they've gone, well, we're still not going to go for the kitchen side. We are going to put our attention towards the tower. We're going to see if we can get the lock off, but NGR is curious about the possibility of somebody getting in a bit close. Team 1 didn't drift close enough, however, and again, look at this, another pickup sticks. Another entirely changed rotation. They've pulled off the tower strategy that was theirs 20 seconds ago and gone, well, actually, let's now try a main take.
You can also go for the main lobby. It's not something we have seen quite often. It requires that small opening up in the right panel towards the meeting room. That also is in a position where you can plant relatively safe, so maybe that is what Team 1 currently want to go for. Of course, you have to be careful for the amount of players that are on that top floor. There could be some verticalities coming into play here as Team 1 is looking to put up the pressure here. EMP's coming in, KDS as well, starting to move up. The Banshee will give away his plan here. Snetskin and him will be trying to hunt one down, and Eclipse will be found.
They comboed for the attack and the push there. They thought that they might go for the swing as soon as the Banshee started screaming, but at the same time, Eclipse did the right decision and tried to focus on a firefight, lost the one, and Pamba's going to have to drop back before the pressure gets too hot. Hyper at least stems the flow and is able to find one of their own. But now, Team 1 have the verticality over the kitchen. They're eyeing that up as the potential for the plant spot. Canadian has the swing round, just droned out, and he's going to actually pull back just a little to some safety. You do have rotation options. You can try and pull yourself into a new location. To be fair with Team 1, when you're looking at 40 seconds left, you know that they're probably going to hit the site or go for you hard. They don't really do half measures, so keeping yourself safe and keeping them guessing is probably the better idea.
One player in security there, a crucial player. I believe it's Pembazoo that is in sight there. Yes, he is. There's going to be some pressure here. He gets caught, and that means there's now an opening. Halamau also will be able to find one as NGR tries to rotate back towards the kitchen because DarkZero well aware of what's currently happening, but the kills just keep flowing in here for Team 1. It's only up to Hyper now, and he gets shut down as one takes this site. And with that, it is yet another round here for Team 1, 4-1. After a loss, after a resurgence that DarkZero was able to put up with that singular round, it's Team 1 that strike back twice as hard.
That was all 4 different players of Team 1 getting a kill.
Yeah.
In that final flood of the fight. And if anything exemplifies what they do as a team, it's that. It's that all of them had a different man to mark. All of them had a different position and a different fight to take as a 1 versus 1 in that situation. Sure, when you're limited on the time, you're either going to, as I said, direct line focus onto the site or go for something sharp, bold, and brilliant. Every single one of them went, I'm comfortable with this 1v1. Like, we can do this. We can have this as our go. All across the entire floor.
Now, you gotta say, they weren't really 50-50 1v1s, because the first one was a man being flushed out of security, forced into the hallway, which was already being watched. The one who holds the angle has the advantage there. Alamau, the second one, holding an angle as well, spots NGR, who tries to panically rotate back towards the site because it is starting to fall. Also, the advantage there. Then, for example, Hyper is the one I saw after that. He was being pushed by 2 different guys. It was a trade situation nonetheless. So, yes, they are 1v1s, but they're not 50-50 1v1s, and that's the important part. They're not just taking a fight head-on. They're trying to outplay them. They're putting up the pressure. They force the enemy to make mistakes. And DarkZero, well, they were forced out. There's not much they could do there, and Team 1 just capitalized on top of that.
DarkZero, can you find a second round to at least give yourself a bit of a buff before you head over to your attacks, which, to be fair, was your shining entrance into the game that you won yesterday. Here, Team 1 still seem like they're on a path for a course, but to be fair, it only takes 1, maybe 2 of those fights to go away from them, and suddenly DarkZero are looking much better with a chance at pulling it around. Alamau is wasting no time at all and finding an early engagement here, as you can see the blue bodies all over this top and middle floor, steadily clearing, steadily making their way across, and steadily shepherding the DarkZero players.
Yeah, they're all back onto the site now. Need to hold off to the final push that will come through. We've seen it happen once before. It was Team 1 that was basically at the time, didn't really have an entry point in, so they just created one. Alamau from the freezer suddenly rips it all apart, and Team 1 is a little bit quicker now in opening up these hatches and not really having to challenge the freezer, as Eclipse was, of course, aggressive there the last time around. That leaves them with more time to get Hyper out of his current position. That was an issue the last time around. He was able to pick up a kill. He was able to pose a threat up until, of course, the very last seconds. And as the Excaliburs are being used now, they need to take those out. It's just small angles being opened up, but at least keeps Hyper well shut right behind his barrel.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Patient, holding the angles as they just listen to the blitz that is happening above them and hoping that one of these players doesn't suddenly fall onto their bunker. It is that positioning that has been a play here and was a bit of a back and forth, but we remember this round started to go into DarkZero's favor before suddenly Alamau hopped in for the quad. Is that going to be another story here? Do they think they have a response and an answer? There's two bodies that are inside Freezer with the drone getting some intel. There's a lot of waiting, and finally we have the first steadily making their way down towards this ground floor. It's Levy flirting with the danger and the idea of this oNe gate is going to try and pull a bit of a blow of focus here, but is also waiting for some of the clarity to come through from the rest of the team. DarkZero is reimagining themselves. They're stacked up for the hold, but suddenly Alamau's down at the bottom of the stairs and down much further as Pamba gets the first KDS. Battles back, gets the revenge. He's able to take a little bit more pressure inside the freezer, but as they're slowed down, it's Levy. Gets one, gets dropped, gets swung, and suddenly everything's popping off. 30 seconds and a 3 versus nobody. And Team One, another 5-pronged execute that just tore the roof off.
That's it, right? They know exactly what to do. They know exactly how they should be moving, how they move and cut the angles one by one. As a result, they win, well, most of their gunfights. Of course, Alamau lost the very first one, but it didn't matter in the end. A 5-1 scoreline will, well, mark the end of the first half. And now it's Team One onto the defense. DarkZero, can they make a difference on their attack as well? Are they going to be able to pull in 5 rounds here to secure themselves OT? But that's not enough, because they need 6 in the next 6 if they want to be making it to playoffs. And even then, it's not confirmed yet. Even then, it's out of their hands at this point. All they can do is just get 6 points today, and they might have an opportunity to. Anything less, and they eliminate themselves. If the other game goes, well, not to OT, it's also over for them. So that is something they are currently hoping for. Of course, they don't get any of that information now. They're all just focused on their own game. They'll figure it out after their game is ended, whether or not Vitality has managed to get a OT win against Team One, as I believe that is what was necessary.
Time will tell, DarkZero, but play like you mean it, and play like one round is the difference between life and death, because it may well be. You are so close,
Attackers objective,
but unfortunately to the wrong end of that. You are so close to going onto the plane. 6 rounds.
6 rounds in a row they need. In Team One, they only need 2 to confirm themselves, and with that confirm themselves for the first seed at the very same time. That means there's a whole lot less pressure on them. And that will definitely be felt. Team One is already a team that plays quite freely, you would say. They rotate around quite a lot. They just take their gunfights if they cannot get through strategically. And they manage to win it on the back of it. Imagine if that's a team that is suddenly, well, relieved of any pressure, of any worries.
Canadian is able to survive the side of an explosion. I'm not entirely sure what that was. I think there was just a little bit of side cursory damage that came through. It wasn't a used explosive. As they listen to the fun, funky music.
I was going to say, it's like nice music in the background there, right away.
Cowboy Bebop. Is there waiting? And that's it. It's waiting. It's patience. It's weighing things up. It's the stress of the importance of this round. They're leading their opener to what has to be a flawless strike. If any round is going to be the toughest, it's this. Nobody has the tougher job than the first on the stage. And here, as they set themselves up for their own sake, they're going to go for the pace attempt. The Kaid Claw is ready to be juggled. It's a handheld throw. That does just catch the pellets.
And that one too. That is a big mistake here from DarkZero. You need to double EMP if you want to be opening up these hatches. Of course, you cannot do that twice. And yes, okay, that one just popped off in time. I was going to say, are they going to be tricking every single one of them and make sure there is no EMPs left to try and stop, well, them from actively tricking it with the Electric Claws? In the end, they managed to open up one of them. Hyper now needs to make sure that they get rid of the Electric Claw. Grenade will be tossed in. I'm not sure. No, that's meant for the player. That's not meant for the Electric Claw itself, and that means that hatch will stay closed for now as Canadian takes a lot of damage on the laundry stairs.
Tried to find his way down here, but at this point he's trying to draw attention. 45 seconds now, and they're going to see if they can set themselves up for the same sort of take they suffered in the most recent rounds. 2 bodies, dabbling and dancing with the danger of this swing, but that on that core pillar point is the danger. It's not just the play around the freezer, but it's Levy who's dancing between the angle towards Canadian on one side, and then the two players that are pushing inside on the freezer on the other. Hyper's able to stack up with Canadian, but he goes down right in front of the man as Eclipse is trying to make moves on the far side, has to pick up sticks because Pamba's suffered just on the shoulder too. Levy finds himself a double, 15 seconds, finds us ticking closer and closer. It's all locked off, and now it's Team 1, 6-1. It may be over for DarkZero based on other results.
It is over for DarkZero and other results. It doesn't matter what they do anymore. They needed 6 points, and the other games to go their way. Anything less would have not been enough. And now, well, DarkZero, they can book their tickets home, so to say, after their games have been played here today. But there's still something to play for here. Don't get it wrong. Team 1 still has the opportunity to lock out their first place position here. And that is what they're looking to do. They just need one of the next 5 rounds. And surely DarkZero, well, they know it. They have been beaten. Now the question is are they disappointed or are they playing carefree?
I mean, from the round that was the most pressure in their entire tournament that they've played so far, to now a round that is technically the least amount of pressure, but it's still disappointing. For context, they are the 3rd team now, depending on what's going on in the other stream, should be eliminated. No chance of making playoffs. The other 2 from the start of this day, OXG and Invictus.
Gaming, yeah.
So that's 2 NA teams and 1 APAC team are unfortunately not going to be joining us on the grand stage. Team 1 is still fighting for the lock-in, but on a 6-1 lead, and with the energy that they've brought, it's looking pretty likely.
It's starting to look pretty good indeed.
5 seconds to go.
The opportunity here to, again, lock themselves in first seed here. And after they won the Mexico Major, they will be more than happy. Or rather, you know, it's a job well done for them that they make it back to the group, to the playoffs, because I think everybody would have expected them to do so after they have won Mexico, which was a miracle run. One of the best stories we've ever had inside of Siege, you can dare to say. Now they're looking to beat up DarkZero yet again. 6-1 currently. Just need to lock it off here. Just a singular round is all they need to find, and well, they're on the defense. DarkZero is the one that needs to bring the pressure. DarkZero is the one that's currently fighting 5 versus 6, considering time is always in the favor of the defenders.
Well, there's a very wide run, and Alamau shouldn't win that, but he does! Okay, it was a spread fire between KDS, who decided to go for an adventure with a C4 in hand, but Alamau on the cover and the swing. Oh, that was filthy, and oh, that is just a testament to the game that we have had before us. Hyper and Canadian are going to see if they can get some control over Trophy in the top of Armory as the 3 blue bodies are stacked up on Attic. They still have some utility they can lob over the top of that danger hole and hold off, but it's just waiting now for Lagonas.
It really hurts that they need to use RC Retiros to start opening up their default rotations because they lost NJR. And, well, you cannot really say it's his fault. He maybe should have picked up the kill onto KDS, but Alamau just deciding to swing to save his teammate there, really coming in clutch for the side of Team 1. That might just as well be a decisive factor at the end of the round. You do not know it. Not yet, at least. And as time keeps on ticking down, there is a Nitro Cell ready and prepped from Lagonas. He's just waiting until he hears the noise that someone is inside of the trophy area. And it will be Canadian to be the first one to move in, or Eclipse, depending on where they want to plant from. They're opening up into games, but there is default holes that, you know, you need to have that verticality if you want to use them.
A bomb has been located.
And all that Team 1 is just waiting for right now is just that final call. Where are you coming from?
They're going to see if they can get an idea of where they can drive this plant, potentially towards the foosball table, but you'll see the openings are underneath, and Neskin's still on the prowl. That default is going to be exceptionally dangerous, so they might try and deep dive it towards the closed trophy wall. Hey, there's a C4, and there's Hyper catching on his head. Canadian somehow survives, and they at least finish off KDS from earlier on in the meantime, but now that's a huge bout of pressure as they find themselves still on the down tick on the body balance. A rotation round from Alamau to throw go. Another smoke towards the entrance means that Eclipse cannot quite get it clean, but does take Lagonis. Will the firefight? 15 seconds. Alamau for a bit of revenge here. He is trying to take bodies. Neskin puts them into the 2 versus 1, and Team 1 put themselves, I believe, onto the grand playoff stage.
Yeah, they have indeed already qualified themselves, and not just qualified themselves, but in the first seed of their group as well, with still a game to spare. So, well played by Team 1. The Mexico major winner will be able to give it yet one more go here on the playoffs that will start, of course, on the Friday. They still have another match to play. There's no pressure at all on that one.
It was just an exceptional game from T1. DarkZero have had an unfortunate tournament, there's no denying. They weren't able to play to their pace, but to be fair, they came into this saying we just want to try and do better than we did before. About the same is the tough answer, but at the same time, against this Team 1 and how they struck today, a lot of teams would have suffered.
It is definitely a tough game they've had here against Team 1, and they've managed to get a win out last play day. Maybe they were going to be able to find more. Maybe they still are going to be able to find more, because they could be the gatekeepers for the second spot. But before more about that is being told to you by our analysts, let's toss it to a quick break.